What a nice clean cut. Welcome to RV Woodworks. My name is Raheem, and a couple of months ago, I was in dire need to create a track for my circular saw, which took about 30 minutes to build. You see, I'm still kind of in that rebellious stage where I don't think I break down enough large sheets of plywood to justify a need to purchase a track saw. Besides, I am married, and I don't think the boss really thinks I need a track saw just yet either. Anyhow, the cabinets behind me are proof that track worked. But upon deeper review, I realized and I felt there was a better way to do this. You see, the fence on the left protects against going into the workpiece, but you could still swerve to the right. And if you're trying to keep continuous grain, or if you have limited materials, this could be a huge setback for your project. In comes version 2.0. And in this version, which we're going to build today, it has a piece of wood on the bottom as well as a groove in the track that makes sure it stays put. Not only that, we're also going to build parallel guides which can help make repeatable cuts go by so much faster. I hope you enjoy the video, and remember, chapters on YouTube are your friend. That's enough talking. Let's roll that intro and let's get right into it.
To kick off this project, I grabbed some MDF, ripped it down to about 1 inch wide, 1/4 inch thick, and then went to my chop saw to get it 10.5 inches in length. Once I was happy with the fit, I added some double-sided tape. Now, we're not only going to use double-sided tape, but it sure does help keep things in place while we drill the holes. You'll see why I said that shortly. Now, although this is a very simple project, keeping this runner straight is very critical. Here's where the double-sided tape came in handy. Newbie mistake incoming. Ouch! No, just kidding. That wasn't my finger, but very close. And a little safer the second time around. Okay, with the amateur moment out of the way, these screws that are going to go in are machine screws. So they'll need a nut on the other side, and they need to be flush with the runner. They cannot be sticking out. Here's a pro tip for you. Did you know you could run a countersink bit forwards and backwards? It actually makes for a pretty clean countersink. Okay, with the screw head flush with the runner, let's get a washer and a nut installed. What can I say? I have fat fingers, but I got it, eventually. Here's a tip. Pre-mark on your circular saw where you're going to put the runners in advance so that it stays straight. With that done, all we have to do is create the groove in the track. Here's a shameless plug. Have you seen the build video for this tabletop? The card's in the corner, check it out. But of course, after you finish this one. With the mortising bit installed and calibrated to the height of the MDF, let's see where we're going to cut this groove. Okay, that wasn't very technical. Here's a better view. You want to measure from the edge of the runner to the beginning of the blade. And that gap will go from the fence of your router to the beginning of the mortising bit. Now, feather boards are our friends. Let's use them to make sure this cut stays safe. Equally important in the infeed as well as the outfeed. Beautiful cut, but darn that dust. You know, Boash has a dust extraction kit. It's RA1173AT. I'll put a link in the description. I just ordered it and I've got to get this thing installed. Quick cleanup with the chisel and the groove will be all set to test. Oh, what woodworking project wouldn't have sanding? The moment of truth. And when that fit like a glove, I was stoked.
Hey guys, apologies for the interruption. I'm just here editing a video to get it out to you guys as soon as possible. And notice I just got a new subscriber. Thank you so much for that. I also want to kind of highlight that 97% of you guys that are watching the video aren't actually subscribed to the channel. So if this video is giving you any value, consider giving it a thumbs up. And if you really want to make my day, join the crew. Subscribe.
And just to close out the track conversation, be sure to check the video description below for a link to Wood Magazine that has more details about this track as well. Now, I know this track is not revolutionary, but I haven't seen too many people build parallel guides like this before. If there are others, please comment below and let me know who has. Now, depending on the number of guides you're going to build, here's what you're going to need. You're going to need a T-track and 2 T-bolts with knobs per parallel guide. The first thing that we need to do is build a groove on the bottom of the track. Now this is where the parallel guide will ride underneath and lock in place. The key point here is to note the location of this groove. It's on the bottom side and on the opposing end to where you build the groove on the first place. I started this portion by ripping down a couple of pieces of plywood, each being 2.5 inches wide. The rationale behind 2.5 inches is pretty simple. I wanted to have enough space for a T-track, and at a later date, which I haven't done yet, I do want to get adhesive measuring tape and add that to each of the parallel guides. That way, I'll be able to set exactly the width that I want to cut right out of the gate when I set up the parallel guides. And we're back at the router table again, this time to cut a groove for the T-track. After careful measuring, we're going to cut this groove in a couple of passes to ensure that we don't get any tear out. Yet the T-track fits snugly. There's that dust again. Not sure if you can hear it, but the dust collection is on. Not that it's really doing anything. Nice tight fit. Perfect. There's the 2 parallel guides. But now, they're cut a little long right now. We'll fix that in a bit. Let me try to give you a visual on what I'm trying to achieve here. Now the groove that we just cut is on the underside that you can see here. And those marks that you see, well, that's the piece that I need to cut. So to the left of this, I'm going to shave off a little bit here. And then to the right, I'll have to shave off a little bit more, but just to make sure it fits in the groove. And that last line is where I'm going to cut the track off. That's basically the access we don't need. Let's get rid of that access first. Now for the groove I need to cut, instead of going back to the router table, I decided to do this at the table saw. Just moving it over ever so slightly and kind of nibbing at it until I found the right fit. Okay guys, we got that cut done. let's take a look here. I'm planning on sneaking in here. Yeah, so it looks like this piece is going in, but clearly this one needs a bit more cutting. So you can see there's a little bit more on this side, and that's good. We want to sneak up on this cut anyway. Let's do it again. There we go. That's a perfect fit. Now off camera, I'll just nibble away at the front end of this so that it's flush with the track, and then we'll move forward. And with this hole, this is how we're going to connect the parallel guide to the track. Now I consider this a prototype, and long term, I'm going to either cut out a notch or have multiple holes so that I could put this parallel guide in multiple places. For right now, it's just two, one per guide. A little Gorilla Glue, a little persuasion, and the T-track is in. Finally, we need to work out the stops for the parallel guides. Now the width is arbitrary. I kept it at 2 inches. What's more important is the height, which needs to be bigger than the thickness of your parallel guide. Now I kept this very simple. Two 2-inch stoppers that are going to drop beneath the parallel guide to stop the wood that you're trying to cut, and then a piece of wood on top, which is going to be 6.5 inches, that'll sit on top where the bolt or the T-bolt will go through to the T-track. I hope that made sense. A visual is coming up shortly. Kaizen foam walls are amazing ways to save space in your small workshop and to get your power tools in order. Link in the video description below if you want to check out that build video. And there's that bolt I was talking about. Finally, here's your first view at what that parallel guides look like and how they connect to the track saw. Attach it with a couple of T-bolts, adjust the knobs on the parallel guides to the width that you're looking for, and away you go. One last thing to address. You'll see when I put the circular saw down, the bolt is getting in the way. And with that little haircut to the bolts, I consider this project complete.
Welcome back, guys. You know, there's a couple of things in the video I did not discuss that I want to go ahead and discuss now. Now you might be thinking to yourself, well, Raheem, you never spoke about how wide your track is. Well, that's really dependent on how wide your specific brand of circular saw is. Look, ultimately what's important is you always want to try to make a safe cut. And the ability to clamp the piece down while ensuring that your table saw is able to run freely is the important one. Make it as wide as you need it to be to ensure that your circular saw is able to run end to end without it getting in the way. The other thing that's very important is that whenever you run a circular saw or even a track saw, there's two things really important that you need. One is a flat surface, which I have here on my table. One other thing you need to understand about this workbench is that when I designed this, I designed it in 2 pieces. So when I open up the workbench a little bit, I have an 1.5 inch gap down here because it's 2 3/4 inch pieces of plywood that make the top for this workbench. Now all I have to do is place my track, place a circular saw, and I have plenty of space underneath for me to run without having any issues. Well, that's all I got. I hope you enjoyed the build. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, ask any question you'd like. I'll be happy to respond. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one.